And running. Just adjust my volume a little bit. Do me a favor, for those of you who are on here, had a little bit of a with the internet this morning. My voice conveyed. Every once in a while, the screen froze. If that becomes a problem, please let me know. I may switch over to my cell phone if need be. So anyway, here we are. Hi. Welcome to Monday. We're here just like that. Principle number three is be here, prepared to be nowhere else. Be here, prepared to be nowhere else. So let me just ask you, look around your environment. What is the number one distraction you have in front of you right now? Yeah, buddy. The devil.
I have it in silence.
Nice. That's a good start, right?
Yes.
I like it in silence in another room, right? Yeah, these are, they're challenging, right? These are challenging devices to have them keep from taking your attention. Is that true? Seeing mostly yeses. Great. Again, if we're not present, it is very challenging for us to have a fierce conversation. Well, I would argue impossible to have it, right? You know, one of the best examples of how people feel when their person they're talking with is using us as a phone is kind of like this. Hey, Jen, do me a favor. You unmute?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So let's just have a conversation here. Ask me how I'm doing.
Red, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you?
Fabulous.
Great. Yeah, no, tell me all about you.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah. No, seriously. Like what's going on with you?
You know, a lot of good things are happening with me over here.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We know that's a little bit of what we feel when somebody else does it, correct? And yet somehow we're a little bit numb when we're doing it the other way. And that's just an example of distraction. Give me another example of distraction that keeps you from being here, prepared to be nowhere else. Give me another example.
My inbox, my email.
My inbox, my ping, ping, ping. Yeah. All those things that like to go ping, right? So inbox, email, what else?
Too much paperwork on our desk.
Yeah, big piles of crap on my desk saying, pay attention to me. You've been ignoring me, right? What else?
Family members who think that you're not working when you're at home.
Right. You know, you're just sitting there goofing off on a computer. I'm goofing off on a computer. It can't be work. Yeah, so for our loved ones can be a huge distraction. What else?
My sewing machine right now.
Oh, yeah, right. Got to go out there and make some custom masks, right?
Yep.
Right? I'm doing good work. I'm doing good work. I'm giving to our frontline people. I get it.
The news.
Ooh, the news. Come to me, Michael. It's so important. Right? You can't miss anything, right? Yeah, what else?
Sometimes these Zooms, Brad, and not just these, but there's every hour there's something.
Yeah. I mean, there is always been a danger of that, especially at KW. And I would argue even more so now, right? Like everybody, the region, your offices, KWRI, we're so committed to delivering value that if you wanted to tap into everything, you'd never sell a freaking thing ever again, right? So we have to curate, right? We got to curate of all of the things I can be on. What is the couple that I'm going to take advantage of? What is the time that I'm going to commit to implement from those, right? And then I got to move on. I cannot be on everything. Right? Give me another one.
Old friends who wants to reach out because they are lonely and
that's
then
right.
It's like, groups and chats that 40 people calling you in one time.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I've got, I've got a group chat with all of our staff. I've got a group chat here. And sometimes I just got to turn off the notifications to those particular groups, going like, it's an important group and I can't hear about every stupid thing going on in there. I gotta hop in, check on it, hop out, right? So is there any shortage of distractions?
No.
No, there is no shortage of distractions. We all have plenty of them, right? We got plenty to share. Does that make sense? So let me ask you this. What are some things that you do currently that you know you are fully present for? Give me some examples, and it doesn't have to be just in business. Give me some examples of things that when you do that, you know you are fully and completely present.
You, Brad.
Oh, stop it. You're making me blush. Give me another one.
Reading.
An hour of working out every morning.
An hour of working out.
Well,
Yeah.
half an hour, Brad. Let's not.
So 10 minutes of working out. Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah. What do you do? What do you do to work out, Kimberly?
I actually have a coach who sends me a workout every morning. So at 5 o'clock when I wake up, there is a workout for me to do every morning, and then I have to report what that looked like for me.
Great. So it's a variety of like floor exercises, weight exercises, that kind of thing. And
Right.
you're just 100% present when you're doing that.
I have to concentrate because some of the things that are labeled, I don't even know what they are. So then I have
Hey.
right. So I have
Right.
to be completely engaged.
Yep.
Yep.
Love it. Give me another one.
Reading.
Reading. You get entirely engaged in reading. Very good. Give me another one.
Feeding my dog right now.
I
am.
Making phone calls.
Say it again, Susan.
Making phone calls.
Okay.
That's
tell,
good.
Tell me
So
more.
good.
When I talk to people, I give them my full attention because I want them to know that my reason for calling them is sincere.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Really, really critical to get that conveyed to them is being present in the conversation, right?
Yes.
As opposed to my Jen example, right? No. Tell me more about that phone call, Susan.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Doesn't work.
No.
And everybody knows it, right? I'll give you mine. One of my favorites is woodworking, right? If you've ever been on the business end of a table saw, you better be present.
Mm-hmm.
You better be there. You're going to be 9-finger Willie all of a sudden, right? So there's some activities, and I want to encourage each of you to have an awareness around what does an activity look like that you do that you know you're fully present for. Because if you struggle to find an example of that, it becomes challenging to recreate it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be able to have this gold standard that I'm striving for in these other areas when I'm engaging in conversation, when I'm engaging in some of this business stuff we're talking about, when it's so easy to be distracted. We had no problem rattling off a dozen distractions that we could all experience right now in this moment, right?
Right.
All of us could experience them right now. So I've got to know what it feels like to be fully present. And I will tell you, this format right here is very challenging to do that. You've got the chat that's going like this, right? Every time somebody does something. You've got the movement of all of the other faces, right? That can be very distracting. We had a great example of one of the people I work with, that every time that she has her camera on and she can see herself, she plays with her bangs. And it took her realizing that she's got to turn that feature off so she doesn't see herself. And then immediately she stops playing with her bangs because she's not looking in the mirror anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The other thing to keep in mind too, and hopefully you notice this from time to time, I'm not able to do it all the time. But when I really try to get a point conveyed, one of the things I make sure I do is look directly in the camera as opposed to one of your faces. And it's a strong pull to look to people's faces on the screen and not the camera, but the experience is so different for the people at the other end, correct?
Right, absolutely.
Right? Just the difference from here to here is a different experience for you, correct?
Right.
It feels like I'm not paying attention to you, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
You can see that with news and people that are there interviewing, and you can tell who is used to doing this all day long.
Yes.
Who's never done this before. They're looking at whoever they're think that they're chatting with.
Yeah. And if you're going to do video content, especially during this time, really work to look at the camera and not the screen of yourself, right? I know we all love looking at ourselves, right? It's just drawn in by it, right? But really practice on looking at the camera, because effectively that's where the person on the other end can have that eye contact experience for them, which is a key piece in connecting, all right? And if we're striving to be here, right? Be here, be present, prepared to be nowhere else. That's something we really need to do, which means we also have to turn off all the other distractions to the best of our ability, right? And for some of you, it's just enough to silence your phone. For some of you, you've got to silence your phone and flip it over so you don't see the light. For some of you, the phone's got to be in another room, right? So let's just go over a couple of thoughts here with this from Susan Scott. A cautionary tale. Discovering someone else's authentic self can be complicated by our increasing cynicism. By our increasing cynicism. Some of you have heard me say this before, but I used to start my day. I'm a huge Dilbert fan. You guys know the Dilbert cartoon, right? The guy in the office, right? The pointy-haired boss. I've somehow become the pointy-haired boss in my life, right? You know, I love it. I love it. It's a great little snapshot of humanity and all that kind of stuff. And it is very cynical. And what I realized over time is one of my early cell phones, I had it set up where the first thing in the morning I saw was the Dilbert cartoon. Well, I started every day effectively cynical.
Oh.
And it didn't show up the first day, didn't show up the 10th day, but after months, I realized that I was becoming more and more cynical. And it was having an impact on my relationships. So I would sweep for those kinds of minds, sweep for some minds that might keep you from being present, keep you out of that cynicism. Unconsciously, another thing to watch for that Susan points out, unconsciously, we end our conversations as soon as we initiate them. Too afraid of what we might say or hear. I'll repeat that one. Unconsciously, we end our conversations as soon as we initiate them. Too afraid of what we might say or hear. I see this happen a lot in the work environment. People, they want to get in and out of that conversation quickly. I want to get in, kind of ask for the whatever, or convey that bad piece of news, whatever it might be, and then boom, I got to get out of here as quick as I can. Right? Limit my exposure, right? And part of that is because I think we're not leaning into the fact that we're not really prepared for what we've said a fierce conversation can do, which is create heat and change us. Most of us aren't waking up in the morning going, woohoo, I get to grow today. Because growth is uncomfortable, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yes! Freaking uncomfortable, right?
Painful.
Right. You know, it's like Kimberly's workout, right? If the coach doesn't send the thing, Kimberly's going, frig it, I'm hitting the snooze. I'm not doing burpees, right? Right?
Absolutely so.
Yeah, so our conversations can be just like that, right? We can try to glaze over them. We can try to fast forward through them. We can try to simplify them. Unconsciously, we're ending the conversation as soon as we start it. Many times we're often keeping it short, right? Now, here's one I really want you to hear. Now, notice that technique right there. What did I do?
Pause.
Paused. Just a little pause, right?
Yes.
I really want you to hear this, and then nothing, which typically makes humans go, huh? Right? Like, yeah? Right. So here's one that I really want you to hear. If you or someone else feels that a conversation is needed, it is. Right? We don't have to have agreement on whether a conversation is needed or not. If one of the two parties feels that it is needed, it is needed. Right? Let's go back to Brad's favorite math formula. C equals what?
Relationship.
Arthur, I saw you say it. R. Yes. 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 The conversation is the relationship. C equals R. If one person in that relationship feels there needs to be more conversation, there needs to be more conversation. And gentlemen, I'm looking at you. We tend to need less. That's nice. If you want to stay in relationship with the person who's saying, hey, I need to talk more, then buckle up, buddy, and have the damn conversation. And you will often have that with clients, right? You're feeling like, hey, I'm communicating how I should be communicating, but if they're not experiencing that, it doesn't freaking matter what you think. They're right. They need more communication. They're still feeling uncertain. They still don't know what the next step is. Even though you sent them the email, you reminded them in the text, and it's in the original packet you gave them, they're still feeling nervous and uncertain, which means there needs to be more communication. Yay. But that's what we've got to do, right? It's about their emotional experience through this move. And our job is to handle that just as well as we handle the physical move. You follow that? Down to two of you. Good. Oh, no, maybe there was a few more. There was maybe, right? We may succeed. Here's a warning. We may succeed in hearing every word, yet miss the message altogether. We may succeed in hearing every word, but miss the message altogether. Now, my first operating principle, my first OP, the great Laura Stevens, she said this to me in a very captivating way. If you listen to the whispers, you will never have to hear the screams. If you listen to the whispers, you never have to hear the screams. In other words, if you really hear what the hell somebody's saying, right, you're really going to have an understanding and a sense of where they are and what they're feeling. Sometimes we just hear the words and we put it through that context filter. Remember that context filter? I'm looking for buy-in. And someone said, yeah, I guess we could do that. Check, I've got buy-in. No, I don't. Right, Linda? I don't have buy-in. I have a mountain of hesitation. Now, here's the challenge. That hesitation isn't going to show up until accountability shows up 3, 4, 5 weeks down the road as we march towards this thing. And that's when it's going to finally hit me that I never had buy-in. Never had it. This is why I'm so confident of the fact that none of us are good enough to talk somebody into selling a house they don't want to sell or buying a house they don't want to buy. Some of you are good enough to get it under contract. The problem is we've got so much frickin' time. From the time we put it under contract to the time that sucker closes, every one of those nights for the client is a sleepless night, right? If we've techniqued our way to that point in the transaction. And eventually you're going to get that phone call. You're going to get that phone call that says, hey, dude, we want out, right? So I want to share this in another way, and this is not in the material. It comes from, again, I've talked about this, I think, once before on here. Daily Reflections of Highly Effective People. It's Stephen Covey daily devotional from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And there's so many times in my life that the days thing has so much pertinence and just resonance with what's going on. I wanted to share what today's was. If you want to interact effectively with me, to influence me, or your spouse or your child, your neighbor, your boss, your coworker, your friend, really anybody, right? So if you want to interact effectively with me, you first need to understand me. And you can't do that with technique alone. If I sense you're using some technique, I sense duplicity, manipulation. I wonder why you're doing it, what your motives are. And I don't feel safe enough to open myself up to you. If we are so focused on our goals in terms of where we want to be with our business or whatever it might be, we will fail to be present, prepared to be nowhere else in the conversation with a client. I'll give you an example. I used to coach a guy who was a team leader for Keller Williams Realty for another office. Great guy, smart guy, very coachable, which not all of us always show up that way, myself included. And we talked about this, you know, that the initial reach out to somebody who wasn't with Keller Williams should not be recruiting. You know, if I'm reaching out to Patrick and Patrick's with ABC Realty, right, I really should be reaching out just to find out and get to know who Patrick is, how Patrick's doing, and what's going on in Patrick's business and where he wants to go. Because if I don't understand that, I certainly can't help him. And all of that has to happen before we can even consider having any kind of attraction conversation. So we worked on that and kind of role played that and all that good stuff. And about a month later, he came onto one of our calls and said, Brad, I got to tell you, I'm really struggling with that. And I said, well, okay, well, let's unpack it. What's the issue? He said they can see right through it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, they can see that what I'm really trying to do is just recruit them, and this is just step one. And I said, well, great, there you go. We found the problem. There can't be anything to see through.
Right.
This can't be well, I'll pretend to do this until I can do this, right? If we talk about care calls to your people right now, that is not a technique to get more business. That's actually, you're a freaking human being who should be calling people you know and saying, how are you? It's really simple. And it should come from a place in your heart where you actually give a rip. And if there's a day where you can't show up like that, then don't do it. Don't do it. Go for a freaking walk, right? Go skip stones at Nantasket Beach. Like, I don't care what you do, but go do something else until you can be in that place. Then when you pick up the phone and you call Michael Spur, you can say, Michael, how are you today? How are you doing? Like, how you really doing? And we know that if I do that to hundreds of people, are there going to be some who then reach out to me and go, hey, I have got a question. Can you help me? Because now I trust you a little bit more. I feel a little bit more connected. Will that be the byproduct of some of those conversations? Sure. But we've got to get on the phone disconnected from that potential outcome. We have to leave that outcome aside and just make the call from a place of caring. Be there, be present, be there, plan to be nowhere else, fully engaged, fully caring, undistracted, and great fruit will come from it. Somebody reminded me that Nantasket Beach is closed. Painful. The one beach I freaking know in Massachusetts, and it's freaking closed. There you go. There you go. A lot of riptide anyway. All right, so what have you heard so far today? Give me some ahas here. We've got a few minutes left.
Show us that book, Brad. Again.
The Amy Heflin.
Reflections for highly effective people.
Or dopes like me.
No, it's good.
You know, whichever.
Or highly.
You don't know Amy Heflin out in Western Massachusetts, one of the greats?
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Brad.
The greats. You bet. What else?
Okay.
I heard that you really have to actually listen to the person you're talking to. You get cues from the way that they respond to your message.
Doesn't that suck?
I think it's a great thing. But
Yes, it is a great thing. Yeah. And if we're distracted, it's going to take a lot of work, right? We actually have to do the work to get rid of the distractions so that we can actually be there and be present.
And,
right?
and I think apart from really be present and listen to what they have to say, is we're not here to manipulate their decision. We are here to listen, and we're here to ask good questions and have them come up with the answers.
Yeah. We advise and they decide, right?
Yeah.
We advise, they decide. It's not up to us whether they take the offer. It's not up to us whether they counteroffer, right? And if you're in this business long enough, you will see that your clients will surprise you in the choices that they make.
All the
right?
time. All the
time.
All the time.
All the time. Yeah. Yeah. Because guess what? It's not our choice. It's theirs.
Right.
It's theirs. Give me another one.
Be honest, I think honesty is everything. When you call, people can tell, like you said, they can tell that you're being like, oh, I'm just doing this because I have nothing else to do and I need a client.
Right.
So be honest. Today I did a funny thing. I know it's not much, but I cooked beans and people around me love beans, and my neighbor have a little kid and that's her favorite. So I put in the jars, knock on the doors and say, hey, here you go. And she says, oh, thank God, I have this and this. My dinner is, lunch is that. So small things that doesn't cost us nothing, because just talk is not enough. Sometimes show a little bit of extra care for the person. That's what I think.
Yeah. It really is the small, right? It's the small stuff. We gave a family that had popped by, friends of ours, we gave them a few cookies that we had made that included our goat milk was part of the cookie.
Cool.
And you know what, that like made their day, and they made a point of sharing that with us days later, about how just that little thing, and that we gave them a nut so that each of the kids could have one, and and I made sure to cough all over all of them. So it's about giving. Are you hearing that? It's about giving.
Right.
One more and then we gotta go.
Stop reading Dilbert.
Stop reading Dilbert. Yes, well, especially first thing in the morning. That's what I found. First thing in the morning, right? At the end of the day, the cynicism can swoop in, and then I can direct it at my children. So, Amy.
Brad, can I just say that I like your message about watch it with coming at people with like insincerity and a disingenuous heart. I get that.
Yeah.
That said, though, scripts and dialogues are so vital and so crucial. If I get into one that I haven't used and I butcher it, which is going to happen, it's just that's on me for I haven't used it. And if I use it enough, I'll internalize it and it'll become part of me. It'll sound like Amy, not a canned script. But that is from trying to go out and play the game and not do the warm-up or the exercises.
Right. That's practicing on our people instead of practicing where we should be. If you think about a script this way, right? A couple of things I want you to do, because and thank you, Amy. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have no scripts. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is a couple of things. One, there are the best words that we can use in certain situations. And that to me is where a script is very impactful, right? I can ask for, kind of a tie down for an appointment in a lot of different ways, but there's a handful of ways that just get to the heart of it quicker, faster, more likely to get yes, all that kind of stuff. The other thing I would say is this, is the script is never the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The script is the doorway to the conversation.
Love it.
Right? It's the doorway to the conversation. It's the things that we might say that get people willing to start having a conversation with us. It's a couple of very poignant questions that we may have practiced, right? We may have internalized, and in so doing, they're very impactful to get people to engage in a conversation, right? Where were you going if you did sell? That's a great question to ask an expired listing, right? There's a lot of ways I can ask it. There's a lot of ways I could fumble around it. There's a lot of ways I could ask around that question without ever really asking that question. But just asking that question, hey, where were you going if you did sell, right? That sounds very Brad Knowles-y, and I never wrote a word of it, right?
Call from Tampa FL.
Call from, exactly. Jen, how did we do?
Another great day, Brad. Thank you so very much. We are going to be posting this on the YouTube page, so you guys could go back and watch it again if you'd like within the next 24 hours. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you all. See ya.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
No.